Hi, thanks for stopping by and clicking on my video. Is NASA going to nuke the moon? Before starting the video, I want to say thank you to all my returning viewers. I appreciate all of the watch times, likes, supports, comments, and all the shares. I've been having a lot of fun making these videos and I hope you have too. Thank you. Okay, so no, NASA's not really going to nuke the moon, but apparently with the Artemis missions moving forward and the more ambitious space plans for NASA in the next decade, they will be using nuclear power for some of their Mars and moon missions.
We have a confirmed nuke. Everyone hang on!
I'm actually going to be sitting a little bit closer to the microphone because apparently that's the one thing I've done wrong for all the audio in my previous videos. You live and you learn. Okay, so why is NASA going to be using nuclear power for their upcoming return to the moon and missions to Mars and beyond? So the other options would be some form of chemical energy, fossil fuels, or solar or renewables. For renewables, there's no hydro, there's not really much you can get off of the surface of the moon or Mars other than solar. The problem then becomes efficiency. How many solar panels do you need to be able to power a moon base or an expedition to Mars? Or a base on the surface of Mars? Mars being further away and getting less solar radiation per unit of area. So one very cost efficient, and by cost efficient I mean in terms of mass, because the main cost of space exploration is lifting mass into orbit. One good solution is nuclear energy because it's very size efficient, it's very mass efficient. A comparatively small setup can generate far more per unit of mass or per kilogram that you have to move into orbit. So I stumbled upon this press release when I was browsing around the NASA website. One of the sources for this, a report published in July of 2022, the NASA utilization of space nuclear systems for robotic and human exploration missions. NASA's space nuclear systems got the order to examine what options are feasible for the next 20 years on lifting nuclear energy systems into orbit for the purposes of heat, energy generation, and propulsion. The report says that nuclear energy systems are enabling for space mission critical capabilities where conventional forms of energy productions are impractical or impossible due to mass constraints, mission durations, or distance from the sun. So once a mission goes from Earth to the moon or Earth to Mars, it has to take all the energy it's gonna need with it on board, unless it plans on using solar panels, which will be of limited use the further away you get from the sun. The energy from the sun drops off quite exponentially, so moving a small distance away from the sun means you get a disproportionate drop in energy density that you could possibly harvest to convert to energy, be it you're in orbit or on the surface of Mars or the moon. So in short, it seems like a lot of the Artemis missions past the first initial ones of going to the moon and back are all going to be nuclear powered, which I think is pretty cool. As far as I know, I don't think any prolonged space mission so far has ever used nuclear power. In fact, I'm not sure nuclear power has ever been used off the surface of the Earth. If anybody knows whether that's true or not, let me know in the comments, please. You know, has there been nuclear power in orbit before? So looking through the report, so there's a lot of good information here, a lot of diagrams or schematics for proposal for systems that haven't been generated yet. Oh, here's a good graph showing the drop-off of wattage and energy as you move further away from the sun. So you can see that going from Earth to Mars, it almost drops off by a third. Okay, an interesting point that I was looking at, something that stood out to me, is that there's a major emphasis on releasing heat. How do you expel the excess heat from generating power from nuclear radiation? So if you look at a lot of these diagrams of different energy generators, you'll notice that they have a large disk or fin area, which is meant to increase surface area to better enable it to release heat. Kind of like how a heat sink in a computer is meant to increase surface area to have better transmission with air and release heat more efficiently. There's also the consideration of using nuclear energy for propulsion. I'm not gonna go into it because I kind of need to read into it myself, but different ideas of propulsion. Mostly what I saw was the Hall effect, but that'll be a topic for later. Off the top of my head, I'm not too literate on that. One of the reasons why you don't want to use nuclear energy for anything going into orbit is what if something goes wrong? What is a possible fallout if, for example, a rocket blows up with a nuclear payload on a launch pad, downwind from a population center or anywhere where there might be people? Most of the concern is environmental. You can't get a weapon grade explosion out of these because they wouldn't be using uranium that's enriched to a sufficient degree that you can get such a violent reaction such as a nuclear explosion. So mostly these are lower grade enriched, energy grade but not weapons grade. It seems like the main way NASA seems to be addressing the concern of a possible accident on a launch site is by having a flawless launch record. The article details different authorization levels and like the bureaucratic process that they would have to go through to get approval for a nuclear launch, but it never really addresses how to prevent an accident on the launch pad. They do state that to prevent the risk of any of this material falling to the wrong hands or being captured, the way they would prevent it being used for nefarious or terroristic purposes would be by using, like I said before, using low-grade uranium that would have to be further enriched before it could ever be weaponized. I think that's pretty cool. I can't believe we're actually talking about crude human landing of another planet for the first time in human history. Another concern is ground transportation, and basically stating that the Department of Transportation and all the other nuclear regulatory powers have a lot of experience moving nuclear material throughout the United States, basically saying that they have confidence in their equipment and procedures and their personnel. And then like the rest of the report are other considerations like making sure that the crew is safe and not being radiated, concerns about or moving nuclear generators through near space. So in conclusion, higher power, higher energy density, and higher efficiency solutions to power and propulsion are enabling for NASA's future mission goals, and the nation's ability to compete with growing international concerns for global space access, exploration, and sustained human presence. Space nuclear power and the propulsion offers a revolution in the design of satellites and deep space vehicles that can operate in harsh environments with increased mission flexibility. Space nuclear systems are enabling for Lunar and Mars human exploration missions, and a key capability needed to establish a sustained human presence in space. So in short, the future of space exploration requires the energy density of nuclear power and all the benefits that comes with having a smaller energy generator. So judging from this, it sounds like there's a fair chance that the first moon base will be nuclear powered, possibly the Lunar Gateway Station as well as going to be in orbit around the moon. And finally, NASA seems to be arriving at the conclusion that any prolonged human presence in space and deep space exploration missions are going to necessitate nuclear energy. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you like this type of content. Likes, comments, and shares are all very helpful, and you want to help a small channel grow. Thank you very much, and you have a good day.